You're watching Color 10 News at 10 in high definition.
Less than a week in office, the newly elected Marionville mayor is caught up in a controversy. This controversy went unnoticed beyond the local community until attention was drawn to Marionville after the Kansas City Jewish Community Center shootings. Our Lori Patton was in Marionville today and asked the embattled mayor about his beliefs.
The disagreement about some of the beliefs then candidate Dan Clevenger espoused about the Jewish faith started before the election. But now Clevenger's past association with Frazier Glenn Miller and the comments he continues to make are pulling him deeper into hot water. Clevenger also feels he is not being portrayed accurately by the media. A group of citizens says they are not concerned about the nuances of Clevenger's debate. They say right now they want him to step down.
No, I can't be friends with somebody that murders people, no matter what race or religion they are.
Marionville Mayor Dan Clevenger wants to make it clear he is no longer friends with white supremacist Frazier Glenn Miller, and Clevenger says he is not a white supremacist.
Just because some people like running those corporations that are destroying us, that doesn't mean that the rest of the race or religion or whatever is bad. I don't stereotype.
Prior to the mayoral election, a concerned citizen wrote a letter to the editor that appeared in the March 21st edition of the Aurora Advertiser. The citizen unearthed this letter from a decade ago in which Clevenger wrote, quote, "I'm a friend of Frazier Miller," and went on to say, quote, "The Jew-run medical industry has succeeded in destroying the United States workforce," quote, "The Jew-run government-backed banking industry turned the U.S. into the largest debtor nation." On April 4th, Clevenger responded in the Aurora Advertiser, writing that he is not a racist because he does not believe in, quote, "a doctrine that asserts the superiority of one race over all others, but rather, quote, I only pointed out the corporations responsible for destroying the United States are run by Jews. The only group I dislike are liars and thieves. Last time I checked, liars and thieves are not a race, but every race has a large share of liars and thieves." And then Clevenger said this to one of our reporters on Monday, April 14th, the day after the shooting, after saying he was no longer friends with Miller.
Industries that I talk about that are run by Jews, that ain't nothing about what he understands, because he don't believe in any of that stuff. But that's probably might have been what caused him to do that.
Wednesday, I spoke to Mayor Clevenger at his small engine repair shop. Do you feel like, as mayor, if you had somebody in your community who was Jewish, that you could represent them fairly and treat them fairly?
Yes, I could. No doubt about it.
And why do you say that?
Because I wouldn't hold nothing against them.
A group of citizens, many of whom backed Clevenger's opponent in the recent mayoral election, are calling for Clevenger's ouster.
We plan to go before the City Council or Board of Aldermen and ask for his resignation. And we will be asking, if he doesn't resign, for the Marionville City Council to begin impeachment, because we feel he has failed to do what is in the best interest of the citizens of Marionville. No matter what his personal beliefs are, he portrayed those on his interview as the mayor of Marionville. And we are getting feedback from the community and the nation that if we elect a man like that to be our mayor, then, you know, our city must be like that too. And it's very important to us for people to know that's not our city.
Clevenger says he does not advocate violence in any form.
I've never hit a human being in my life. I've never got angry with anybody in my life. I just don't do that sort of thing, and I don't condone that sort of thing.
Clevenger beat the incumbent by 30 votes in the election, where he had 55% of those votes. The city is getting calls from all over the nation now. One friend of Clevenger's told me this evening that Clevenger's life has been threatened. Clevenger's supporters believe the concerns here are all politically motivated.
Lori, thanks. Also tonight, new at 10, the suspect in those Kansas City shootings, Frazier Glenn Cross, a man from Aurora, may have spent time in witness protection. That means his family could have received federal money. And of course, it also sheds some new light into the confusion surrounding his different names. Matt Lapoli is following this new development tonight. Matt?
David, when Cross's official name was Frazier Glenn Miller, he was sentenced in federal court on weapons charges. We looked at court records from North Carolina and Cross's own autobiography to find out more. In a final chapter added in 2010 to his 1999 biography, A White Man Speaks Out,
I think it's a good idea that I provoke people, and I do that deliberately.
Frazier Glenn Cross claims he and his family spent time in witness protection. He writes, quote, I originally agreed to going into the witness protection program so that my wife and 4 small children would be taken care of while I served my prison sentence. Federal court sentencing documents from 1987 show he was cooperating with the Justice Department and would continue to do so for several years. In his book, he confirms his involvement with authorities.
Any man that'll accept their own racial destruction is no man.
The book also chronicles his involvement with the Ku Klux Klan, including a 1979 shootout in North Carolina. The documents detail several conditions of a 5-year probation period after jail, one of them being that he not be a member of or associate with any white supremacist organizations. But according to his book, at no time did he give up his associations.
I'm going to exercise my freedom of speech and engage in the political process.
It's not clear how long Cross may have spent under witness protection. In his book, he claims the feds, quote, quickly dumped him. He lived briefly in Iowa before moving back to Missouri. Of course, authorities do not comment on who has been under federal protection.
All right, Matt Lupoli with the new information. Thanks. The motive behind the alleged shootings has many looking now into the past of Frazier Glenn Cross, or Miller. The Vietnam veteran is also a former member of the Ku Klux Klan. Many people point to Cross's beliefs and his association with the KKK in North Carolina as a possible motive for shootings that Cross has now been charged with. KOLR 10's Grant Sloan met today with the KKK director, Thomas Robb, inside his church in Zinc, Arkansas. He says the beliefs of Cross and his own, while similar in some aspects, are built on different foundations. Robb says he only met Cross in passing, never considered him a friend, and that many people inside the KKK organization disassociated themselves with Cross years ago. He had this to say when asked for his initial reaction to the alleged shootings.
Well, I think the same thing went through my head that goes through the head of most people. Why would anybody do such a dastardly thing? I had met him, but he was somebody that I always felt, as well as most people, the vast majority of people in the white Christian movement would find that he was somebody they did not want to associate with.
If you would like to see our full interview with Thomas Robb, you can visit our website. We're at ozarksfirst.com. Also tonight, new at 10, the Greene County Sheriff says a man's death could possibly be the result of foul play. Sheriff Jim Arnott announced just moments ago tonight that Curtis Allen Parker was found dead in a wooded area behind his property out near Fair Grove. He had been reported missing earlier today after family members could not reach him. Deputies used a helicopter to search for and find Parker. Investigators are now searching the victim's house in hopes of gathering more information. A local mother is demanding tonight some justice for her daughter's death. Kimberly Candy walked into 26-year-old Jessica Connor's home Friday to find her dead on the kitchen floor. According to court documents, she was stabbed to death. Lindsay Klein is here now with new information.
And David, I have a copy of the search warrant here in my hands. It describes a very graphic scene and says investigators believe Connor was stabbed multiple times. Connor's mother tells us she was 4 months pregnant. As Kimberly Candy recovers from the trauma, she prays she finds justice for her daughter's death.
It's a very traumatic thing to see when you see your child laying there dead. And her eyes was like she was looking at me and crying for help, and it's just devastating.
Wind chimes sing outside this Springfield home that sits in the 1100 block of North Sherman Avenue. A quiet home now. It quickly turned into the scene of a homicide investigation Friday.
I won't specifically go into details of what we found inside the home, but at the time that we arrived, it was pretty apparent the case was going to be a homicide.
It's traumatic. It's really traumatic for everybody, and I just can't believe that child at 26 got murdered. I just can't believe it.
Outside Connor's home, her mother grieves. A tattoo of Jessica's name on her neck.
She got my name on her, and I got her name on me. It's something always to remember her by.
Candy discovered Jessica's body after the 26-year-old's boyfriend called her to check on Connor Friday.
When I looked at Jessie, I hollered her name like 4 times. I thought she was just laying there, and I tried to shake her, and I knew she was dead. And her eyes looked like she was calling out for me.
Candy tells us her daughter was 4 months pregnant. She also leaves behind an 8-year-old and this dog that Candy now cherishes.
I am lost with no mother, no dad, no father, and no daughter. So I have nobody left in my family.
Police say the crime is still under investigation. They aren't releasing much information at this time.
We do believe there are people out there that have information that would be important to this investigation, and we would ask that they call the police department with that information.
Candy is managing to push forward for her daughter.
I am scared, but I know who did it. I know who did it, so, you know, the justice will be served this time. And everywhere in the world, we're going to try to catch the killer.
And she was pregnant, but there's no word yet at this time on whether or not that will be treated as a double homicide. Jessica's mom tells us she was always happy and smiling and that she loved singing and spending time with family. Police tell us no arrests have been made, but they are questioning people. They say there was a call history at the home, and her mother tells us she had been a victim of domestic violence multiple times in the past. David.
Lindsay, thanks. Also new at 10, Greene County deputies are investigating an apparent shooting just south of Springfield today. It happened this afternoon in the 4500 block of South Roanoke Avenue. According to deputies, somebody called 911 and reported a shooting there. No one was found at the scene, but a short time later, a victim showed up at one of our local hospitals. We'll have more information on that story as soon as we receive it. We're going to switch gears right now, though, and bring in Jamie Warner. Back in fresh off the weather tour, Nixa, we've got some warmer days ahead, huh?
Yeah, David, spring is back. You know, after taking a little break since the beginning of the week, we finally got some milder weather returning to the Ozarks. Here's a look at the highs across the area. Upper 50s to the eastern Ozarks, but this was our cool spot. In areas to the west saw highs in the 60s today. In fact, 63 in Springfield with 64 further west, back close to the Kansas border, down through Oklahoma. Of course, that's still a little shy of where we should be for this time of the year. Average highs are in the upper 60s, and we're going to see that returning, not tomorrow, but the next day and beyond into this upcoming weekend. Temperatures currently range from the 40s east to low 50s here along Highway 65 to middle 50s to the west and north. Clinton at 55, Warsaw about 54 degrees at this hour. Skies are mostly clear. It looks like tomorrow, though, will be a cloudier day than we had today. We'll call it partly cloudy for the morning hours and then mostly cloudy during the afternoon, and the threat for maybe a shower as we head into the evening. Highs tomorrow will be very similar today. It looks like about 63, but again, warmer weather to follow and some additional rain chances, too. We need that rainfall. I have all the forecast details coming up.
New at 10, one of the pilots involved in that January wrong airport landing in Taney County has now retired. Perhaps you remember this. The airplane mistakenly landed at a much smaller runway instead of the Branson Airport. Southwest Airlines announced the first officer retired when the company's internal investigation ended. The pilot had been with Southwest since 2001 and logged about 25,000 flight hours. The National Transportation Safety Board is still investigating. The Springfield community wants to save a historic church. What organizers are doing now to move Timmons Temple instead of it being demolished to make way for new apartments. You're watching Color 10 News at 10. More local news now at 10 tonight. We've been bringing you the ongoing story of Timmins Temple Church here in town for several months. In an effort to sell the property in March, the city council rezoned the land there. That means the historic building would be demolished. But now, community members are trying to raise money to move Timmins Temple. They say it's a historically significant building. It was built for an African-American congregation back in 1932, and it's one of the last stone structures left standing in Springfield. Preservationists are hoping to raise enough money to move the building in its entirety to Silver Springs Park.
Maybe $250,000 might get it in the park and get it to reuse. That's 8,000 people at $30 a piece, and we think we can do it.
If you'd like to contribute to the Save Timmins Temple Fund, we have the links posted for you on our website with this story at ozarksfirst.com. Well, Jamie is back with a weather update, and we're going to get nice and warm toward next week, right?
Yeah, it looks like we're not even going to have to wait till next week. We're looking at highs probably up around 70 on Friday and 70s for part of this upcoming weekend. But I think folks want to hear me say 80s. I mentioned that possibility yesterday. It still looks like it's going to happen. We'll talk about that when we will see 80s in the area. That's coming up.
And now weather with Color 10 News Chief Meteorologist Jamie Warner.
Well, today's weather tour stopped down in Nixa at the Osborne Financial Group. This is very close to the Walmart there in Nixa. And this is Sean Osborne right here, and I wanted to show you this photo. He made good on his promise to get in the dunk tank, and he not only got dunked once, but multiple times. And I think every time it was a shock to the system because while temperatures were mild today, we did make it into the 60s. That water's still cold, the wind's blowing, so you hit the water, you come out, and you're freezing cold. So, you know, kudos to him for doing that, and it was a good time out there, and I wanted to pass along thanks to him and everybody else that participated. Outside right now, we've got quiet weather conditions across the Ozarks. Temperatures aren't too hard to take, especially when you consider just a few nights ago we are below freezing at this point. 51 is where we stand right now. Winds breezy out of the south-southeast at 12 miles per hour. They have been all day long. We had gusts over 30 miles per hour. Those winds have died back a bit, and they're not going to be terribly strong, I think, through Thursday. And for Thursday's weather, what we're finding is not a lot going on. We've got this one system right there. That's going to continue to pass on off to the north and east, and what it's doing is it's causing a front to drop southeast into northwest Missouri and northeast Arkansas. And that front will gradually sag south across the I-44 corridor as we work through Thursday afternoon. So that's going to be our next weather player. And we're going to see some upper level energy, which is going to come in from the west overnight Thursday night, interact with that front, and that will generate some shower activity in the wake of the front. I don't think it's going to be a lot, and I don't think it's going to be very heavy, but there will be a few showers around, especially tomorrow evening. And then after that, we're back to quiet weather conditions. And this storm is not tapping into any cold air, or at least it's not sending any cold air south into the Ozarks. So we're actually going to find temperatures continuing to warm in the wake of this storm Friday into Saturday. Taking you hour by hour tonight, skies will remain mostly clear, but I do expect increasing high cloudiness by sunrise on Thursday. Those high clouds will make for a partly cloudy day, especially along and north of I-44. In fact, I think it'll be mostly cloudy at times. Areas south of I-44 will tend to see more sunshine, and it will be a little warmer in those areas. And then Thursday evening, we'll see that shot at a few showers, nothing widespread and nothing heavy. And then we get into Friday, and it looks like we're back to mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies, with temperatures probably as early as Friday flirting with the 70-degree mark. Temperatures tonight, well, they'll drop into the upper 30s east to low 40s west, about 40 here in the middle in Springfield. Tomorrow we'll see a high of 63 degrees. I mentioned more sun to the east and south. That's where we'll see highs tomorrow in the mid-60s. And that pattern going forward still looks good if you like warm weather. Looks like we'll see mild weather this weekend as a result of a zonal jet stream pattern. And as we get a big buckle in the jet stream with a trough out west, ridge develops here in the midsection of the country. That favors quiet weather conditions as long as that ridge is there, and also warm weather conditions, and we are going to find both during the middle portion of next week. Now, before we get to that, there will be a shot at some showers and some thunder, I think, Sunday into Monday as another system slowly moves through. Not expecting any severe weather with that, just some much-needed rainfall, and then we get to the quiet and warm weather conditions. Tuesday highs maybe up near 80. And I think we're in the low 80s for highs come Wednesday.
And despite our freeze this week, I still thought the trees they're budding out a little bit. I noticed at dinner tonight.
The leaves seem to be okay, but there were some trees that did suffer. Some of the blossoms on a lot of the trees that were flowering did suffer from that freeze. But we're bouncing back now, and it certainly feels a lot better out there.
Viewers Club.
Yeah, let's see that Viewers Club number, and there it is for folks at home. Waiting for that. 142-483 is tonight's number, and the jackpot up to $500.
Jamie, thanks.
And he may have hurt himself, and yep, he did. Oh, no.
Yeah, the St. Louis Cardinals lost more than just a game this afternoon. Dan Lucy's coming up in sports with that. Plus, news on Missouri State basketball, too. Stick around.
And now, Color 10 Sports with Dan Lucy.
The Missouri State Bears expected to add 2 junior college transfers today. It's the first day of the NCAA spring signing period, and JUCO players can sign up with 4-year programs. Kamen Boone tweeted that he was going to sign with the Bears this afternoon in Mesa, Arizona. Boone's a 6'6" power forward, averaged 16.5 and nearly 9 rebounds a game at Mesa Community College. Lomas Gehring has verbally committed to the Bears and is expected to sign as well. He's 6'5", averaged nearly 14 points per game at Vincennes College, but neither one of them got their letters of intent to Missouri State yet, so stay tuned there. The Drury Panthers did add a pair of high school seniors, Drew Moore, a 6'7", 200-pound forward from Duchesne High School in St. Chuck. He averaged 14 points, 8 boards a game last year. Also signing 6'1" guard Wyatt Voorhees from Mill Valley High School in Kansas. Voorhees averaged 15 points and 4 assists his junior season. He missed his entire senior year with an ankle injury. The St. Louis Cardinals looking for a series sweep in their 5th straight victory this afternoon in Milwaukee. Cards sending Joe Kelly to the hill against a Brewers team that they've been chasing down in the NL Central. St. Louis had narrowed that Brewers lead in the division to only 1 game going into today's action. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Chicago rounding out the Central. Milwaukee's Willie Peralta on the hill throwing BBs gets Daniel Descalzo looking at strike 3. It was scoreless in the bottom of the 3rd. Carlos Gomez would shoot the gap in right center. The ball goes to the wall. Logan Schaefer scores to make it 1-0. Top of the 5th, Joe Kelly trying to beat out a bunt for a base hit. Don't know why. He ends up slightly pulling his left hamstring. He had to leave the game. Seth Maness would come in out of the bullpen for the Cardinals. An error would load the bases, and Jonathan Lucroy would single to right. Peralta and Gomez come in, and it was a 3-0 Milwaukee lead. Then Aramis Ramirez would follow with a single to left. Gene Segura comes in to score. It was 4-0. Alan Craig would pop a home run in the 6th inning to right field, but this homer was not enough. Milwaukee snaps the Cards' winning streak 5-1. After the game, Mike Matheny saying Kelly could miss a start with that strained hamstring. Cards continue their road trip tomorrow night in Washington. Adam Wainwright gets the start against the Nationals. Kansas City Royals continue their series in Houston. Royals sending Jeremy Guthrie to the hill as KC looked for its 2nd straight win. Houston releasing Ozark native Lucas Harrell late last night after his loss to KC. Here's a look at the AL Central going into the action tonight. Detroit, Chicago tied for 1st. KC is in last place, but just 2 games back. Kansas City would get on the board first, top of the 2nd inning, and Danny Valencia would go deep to left. This one would get to the Crawford box as a solo shot to make it 1-0 Royals. Then in the 3rd inning, Houston's George Springer, making his major league debut, would get his first big league hit as he beats out this squibber here. He's at first for Jason Castro, and that's important because Castro would go deep to left. This is a 2-run shot into the Crawford boxes. That would make it 2-1 Houston. Kansas City would tie it up in the 4th inning, and then the Astros would go back in front with another home run. This one here this one would go into the seats. Another home run. Mark Krause there made it 4-2, but KC would tie it up in the 7th. Salvador Perez singles to left, and Lorenzo Cain and Alcides Escobar both score to make it 4-4. And that's where we are. It's 4-4 9th inning. Royals will wrap up their series at Houston. James Shields moving up a day to pitch against Houston because of a Bruce Chen injury. And finally, high school baseball this afternoon. Lebanon visiting Kickapoo. Yellow Jackets jump in front in the 1st. Dylan Bradshaw grounds this one off the pitcher's leg. Rocky Long scores to make it 1-0 Yellow Jackets. Then Keaton Warren would follow with a drive to left. It bounces off the fence out there. Bradshaw and Josh Archer both score to make it 3-0 Lebanon, but Kickapoo would come back in the bottom of the 1st. It was 3-1 when Danny Cruz would single to center, and Logan Wiley scores 3-2. Then Tristan Stevens singles to center. Brandon Wamsher and Cruz both score to make it 5-3 Chiefs, and Kickapoo doubles up the Jackets 14-7. And I wanted to say thank you to some of the 1st and 2nd graders over at Horace Mann. Read to them a couple weeks ago. They sent a couple of different thank you notes.
The students, they're 1st graders.
1st graders and 2nd.
We love doing stuff like that. And look at this neat little thank you he got.
They're great. The crayons and the colors and stuff like that. They look like a stick figure.
I tell you, this is the best moments right there, Dan.
Right.
Thanks. Final word at 10 here after this.